Hey guys, welcome back to this short series on how to build a basic chat app. In this part, we're going to learn how to style up our basic chat app and make it look more professional and make it look more like the final product. So let's get started. So first thing we need to do is go to our public folder and create a new file. So we're going to call this file index.css. And next we're going to have to grab our index.ejs and link it up. So let's type link and write its name. So index.css. Now, if we refresh our page and also open up console, you're going to see this error. And that's because our Express server is not serving this index.css file to this. So what we need to do is go to our server and write app.use/ and write express.static public. And all this does is that to our root directory, it's going to serve our public folder, which has our index.css file. So save this, and if we open up console again and refresh this page, that error should be gone. That's good. So now we can start styling. So now we can go over here and write margin is 0, padding is 0, padding is 0, and let's import some fonts. So the font I'm going to be using primarily is Nunito Sans, the regular one. So I'm just going to add that, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it at the top of my CSS file, like that. Next, I'm just going to head over back to our chat app, and now I'm going to write font family, and I'm just going to write Nunito Sans. And I can also write box sizing border box. Now I'm going to grab my body and I'm going to write display flex, justify content center, align items center, and min height 100 VH. I'm also going to write background color to 1111, which is basically a dark gray. So now if you refresh this, it's already looking much better. We also want to add a CSS variable, so we can add one, and I'm going to call it purple. And we can go over here and grab it and paste it right here. And now we have this purple color. Now we can grab our button. So its class is called create room, and paste it in our index.css. Whoops. Now we can write background color, and we can just do var purple. That's good. And next we can also do width is 170 pixels, height is 45 pixels, and we can do color is white, font weight is bold. That should be pretty good. That's already looking nice. We can do border is none, outline is also none, and for the most part this should look almost identical to this, except the text. This one is slightly different. Now as you can see, when we hover over this, it grows a bit bigger. Also one other thing is we don't want to set this to this color. We want to set it to RGB 0.9, since that one is a little lighter, and that should be good. And so now we want, when we hover, it grows a bit bigger. So what we can do is grab this, paste it here, write hover, and we can do transform, scale 1.05, and we can do a transition up here. So transition of 200 milliseconds. And now if you hover over it, it looks pretty nice. We can also do cursor pointer, and that should be nice now. Now we also want when it's active, it dims a little bit. So the way we can do this is by using a pseudo element. So let's create one. So after, and content is nothing. Width is 100%. Height is 100%. Position absolute. And we want top to be 0. Left to be also 0. We want its background color temporarily transparent because we only want it to show when we hover. We also want a transition on this of 200 milliseconds. We want a pointer events of none. We also want a position relative there. Now what we can do is copy this and write that when it's active, then it changes to a darker color. So we can make it 0.3. And so now if you refresh this, when it's active, it dims. That's good. So we're done with that part. So now we can actually keep it open for temp now, and close this file, open up room.js, and also add a new file to public. So we can write room.css. So now what we want to do is link up our CSS file. So we want to actually grab room.ejs, not room.js, that's my bad, and write link and write room.css. We also want to copy and paste all these CSS styles from our HTML file to our style sheet because that'll make our HTML file a bit more cleaner. So now we can paste it here. So that's good. And now if you refresh this, it should appear the same. Now the next thing we want to do is go to our index.css and copy these basic styles into our room.css and paste at the top. Now we also want to remove this flexbox and its styles. And we also want to add one more root variable. So we can just write dark gray and we can type 1111. This is the dark gray we were typing earlier, which we didn't need. And now we can also set, actually this seems fine for now. So if you refresh this, it looks pretty much the same except the background color. Now we can go to our room.ejs and make a container around our basics markup. So you can write div and copy and paste that to the bottom and indent this properly and add a class to this. We can call this chat area. Save that and paste that back into our room.css and give this a style of width 100% and a height of 100%. Now next thing we can do is go to our messaging section and change the height. We can actually set it to 100 VH minus 90 pixels. That should be good. And also remove this border because we don't really need that anymore. We can also make, and this actually is fine for now. So now if you refresh this is pretty good. Now this on the bottom, which is fine. Now what we want to do is style up these input fields. So let's find what their class names are. So one of their class names is display name and the other ones is text message. So let's grab those. So display name, comma, dot text message, and let's both give them a background color of var, and let's set it to that dark gray color, and let's just add a height of 45 pixels. That should look nice, and you can see everything's working. Let's also remove their border because they don't really need one, and their outline. We can also set to none, and we can give it a padding of 5 pixels. 0 pixels, 5 pixels. That should be good. Or actually, let's give this more, something like 15 pixels. That might look nicer. Check this out. Okay, so that one's a bit more. So let's actually give it 25 pixels. That looks about the same. And now we can also give a little bit of margin between these fields. So let's grab message div and style that a little bit. Actually, it's already here. So let's just give it a margin of 2 pixels, 0 pixels. And that looks good. Let's just give it a margin dash top of 2 pixels at the bottom. And as you can see, there's a bit of overflow. So let's actually make this 92. And that's good now. If we see this, it should be around the same. And now let's style up this send button. So its class name is send-button. Pretty straightforward. And let's give it a background color of our purple. So let's just do dash purple. And let's do a border of none and a outline of none, a color white, a font weight of bold. Refresh this and it looks fairly similar. We can also do a text dash transform of capitalize. And so that looks about right. And let's give it a cursor pointer. So you get a cursor that's pointer when you hover over it. And that's good. So we're basically done with our basic styles. Now what we want to do is, let's say, so we also want to rate color. We want to give it a color of white. That should fix it for visibility purposes. So let's say like Bob. And let's just say randomly. If you first send, you see it's up here, but it's really ugly. Like we want a nice, beautiful message like the one that comes up when we send over here, right? Like this with this animation. So we can make that pretty easily. So first we want to go to this message div and want to give it a padding. You can give 15 pixel padding. And we also now want to see the class name of our text message. So let's just scroll down and it's called text div, I believe. We can just check our room.js for confirmation. So if you scroll down and go to add text, it's div. Yep, it's called text div is what we want to style. So yeah, we have it right here. And we can start by giving this a background color of dark gray, a border radius of 5 pixels. And if you refresh this, it should already, oh whoops, sorry, I think I styled the wrong class. Or not. I messed up over here. I accidentally gave this to the wrong thing. It should be to message section. And if you refresh that, that's much better. And now let's just do something random. Send it. And that's already looking nice. Just similar to this. So now we want to give this text div a little bit of padding. So we can do like something like 10 pixels, 15 pixels. Or just 10 pixels in general. And let's send a message. And that looks about the same, except there's more padding in the message section. So let's up this up to 20 pixels to get a better look. So it appears that the top is 15 pixels, sides are 20. So I think this time we should be lucky and get exactly what we want. Okay, so the height of the actual text div is also less. So let's give it that. And now if we send it, let's actually don't give this so give it a padding of 10 pixels. Let's give it a height of, actually let's just stay with what we had because that was pretty close. Let's just give it a bit more. Yeah, now we just want to give a margin between these because it is a bit ugly like right now. So let's just write margin and let's give it a margin dash bottom of 10 pixels. That should do it. So send. And see, now it looks good. Now let's give it this animation of like floating up when we send. So the way we can do that is grab this and we can write, actually first we want to write animation and we can name it float, give it 250 milliseconds once, and let's add a keyframes animation, so call it float, and say at 0% it's transform dot and let's do transform translate y 25 pixels, and let's make it so that 100% it's transforming to translate at 0 pixels vertically. So now if you refresh this, we should get a much better animation. As you can see, it looks similar to our final product. So that's good. Now the next thing I want to do is style up the actual text and content and then names and all that. So let's do that. So to do that, first we're going to need to style these text message, right? The actual content. So we can write text dash div and we can select its P and its first child, and we can just make it color white. Now this should look much better. So if you refresh this, type something, you see it's nicer. Now you're going to see a problem that if you type a really long message without spaces, you're going to see it's just going to overflow, and we don't want that. So what we can do to fix this issue is called word wrap, and we can just set to break word and write word break to break all. And now you can see if you refresh this and do this again, it's going to be fixed. So let's do this. Okay, that was not long enough. Let's do a little longer. And you're going to see it's wrapping around, and that's what we want. We also just want to do margin right 10 pixels because we want some gap between our name and the text. So if we refresh this and write another really long message like this one, you're going to see there's a little space, and that's good. Now we're done with that. So now what we want to do is again grab text div, and now this time we want to grab the last child of P and we want to grab its span, and basically we just want to grab this time and we want to make it a little like, we want it white but not like too white, so we're going to make it a little dim like gray like we have in our final product. So let's just do RGB, color RGB 255, and if I can write it properly, 0.5 opacity. And so now if you refresh this, it should look one step more similar. And now we just want to change this color, like the user's color. So to do that, we need to grab a list of colors, and I can go to the final product and actually copy them. So they're called color options. And basically every time we refresh or join a room, we get a certain color, one of these three colors associated with our user ID. So we can choose a color, so we can write like const user color, and we can set it equal to mat dot floor and set it to mat dot random times 3 because there's 3 color options, or we can do color options dot length -1, and actually just length. And now we can keep all of this inside of color options, just like that, and just add an ending bracket. And that's good. And now we can just see if it's working by console logging this. So just console log user color, and if we open up the console and we refresh this, you're going to see we get a color, and if you refresh this again, it's different. That's good. Now what we want to do is set this user color to the text object that we send to the user. So over here, we can just write color and equal user color, and we can go down at the bottom and unpack that value. So we can just write color over here, and we can set that to the name. So we can just write name p.style.color is equal to color. And now if you refresh this, we should be done basically. Just one last thing we need to do. So you can see it's working. So before we do that one last thing, I just want to go back to room.css and increase the padding for these text divs because it seems a bit low. So I'm just going to make it 15. And then if you refresh this and send some, actually that seems a bit too high. Let's just make it 10 and, 10 and 15 for sides because that would be more appropriate. So let's do that. And if you see, they look a bit better. Now the last thing I was talking about is, if you remember from the intro, when we're typing, the other user sees a little message saying like this user is typing. So we want that to appear. So let me just create this room another thing. And if we're quick enough, like say we're typing here, you see anonymous is typing. And it quickly disappears because we stopped typing. So we want to style that to make it look a little nicer. So the way we can do that is first grabbing that element. So if we go to our room.js, we call that, if we go up here, we call that, we just have div, and does this div have, so we can do to grab that is actually open up our room.ejs, and that's going to be inside of this active typers div. So we can just grab its div. So what we can do is go to our CSS file again and just type active typers, and we want to grab its div, and we can just do width 200 pixels, and also let's for now just create like a fake div because we want to visualize what there really is. So let's just say anonymous is typing. I probably did not spell that right. Typing. And if you refresh this, you're going to see this. So this is what actually appears. So we can just temporarily style it up like this. So we can just do height is 45 pixels, and we can do background color is war dark gray, a border radius of 5 pixels, we want to do font style of italic, and we want to do a font just color, and we want to make it RGB 255 0.5, and that should look much nicer. So if you refresh this, it looks good. We just want to do a display flex, and we want to do a justify content center and align items center, and that should also look now much nicer. Now let's pretend our user is way too big. Let's go back to here and just type a really long message. Now it's going to overflow currently, right? So what we can do to fix that is, again, just do like overflow hidden, and we can do text overflow to ellipsis. And if you refresh this, this should, and we also want to do word wrap to none. Actually, not that. We want to do white space no wrap. That's what we want. And so that looks like that. Okay, that does not look that great. We can just remove justify content center because we don't need that. And we can do a padding of 5 pixels to make that look a little bit better. Okay, yeah, so that's okay. Now I'll make that 10 pixels. And let's just remove that extra stuff. So let's actually just remove this and test if this is how it's actually looking. So save that, and you're gonna see it's gone. But now you see, if I refresh this page and refresh this, and now let's just say I'm typing, you're gonna see it's this nice styled box. So that's great. Now, just a few last things we want to do before we're done is we just want to display flex on here, and we want to make it overflow auto. We want this active typers to have also we want to just give it a width of 100% with a padding of 0 pixel 15 pixel. And we want to give this active typers like scroll bar, like no style at all. So let's just do dash web kit dash scroll bar, and we just want to give a background color of transparent, a width 0 pixels, a height 0 pixels. Now this is hard to demonstrate, but it will work if you actually test it. So that's good. Now there appears to be a little bit of an error because this is going crazy. Oh, I accidentally added that, so that's good. That's all great, and you can see if I refresh this, and I'm typing, let's see, actually, it's not working. Oh, it's because I accidentally added another one of this. Whoops. Refresh both of them. Type something here. See, it's nicely working. So that's great. So, and we just want to actually copy these styles for the actual message div. So let's actually in the message section. So let's do that, but replace that. So basically what this will help with is that now if we're sending tons of messages, okay, we need to remove the extra dot. Now if we're sending a ton of messages, you see, it just nicely looks like this. It's clean. Okay, so that's the end of this tutorial. The next part, we're going to learn how to deploy this to Heroku. Thanks for watching.